If you're looking for a behind-the-scenes insight into music, you've come to the right place. Remember to subscribe to be notified of new content.
In 2016, I started this journey to finding out what goes on behind the music recorded and released by Australian singer-songwriters. I quickly learned of the struggles faced by many in this competitive industry. With the launch of ledofficial.com, I started supporting Aussie talent in promoting their music. It wasn't easy. The only guarantee I could offer my clients was that I would get the word out to media sources about their upcoming release. Some picked up community radio interviews, others gigs in live music venues. Many have told me they feel like a human jukebox when performing live, because the public seem more interested in hearing songs that they know rather than something new. 4 years later, I'm here with an independent insight into what happens behind the scenes.
This is Behind the Music with Ellie D.
Hi, my name is Torii and I'm from Melbourne, Victoria. So I began in the music industry when I was 18 years old, being an artist who released music and played regular shows, and I guess began to plan out my career as a gigging and releasing musician. Interestingly enough, over the last 12 years, I've never really been able to pinpoint what genre my music fits into, and I know for a lot of managers and venues, they find that really frustrating, which I totally get, because it's, you know, if you're trying to create a certain theme, it's difficult having an artist like me just because I don't fit into a specific genre. I do write songs that are neo-soul vibe, but I wouldn't consider myself a musician or a songwriter who writes only in that neo-soul vibe, as much as I love it and I think it's so groovy. I dabble in stuff, so I've got some folky stuff as well. I've got a bit of reggae on my new album. I've got you know, stuff that's sort of a little bit fusiony, a little bit funk. I am a big lover of funk music and soul music in general, so I think that comes through in my music, but I wouldn't specifically say that it's funk or soul or, you know, folk. I do love to write some super folky love songs, some really melancholy piano songs. It all varies, but I think the main thread in it is my sound and what I sound like, and what comes out of me, and the themes that come out of me, as opposed to a specific genre, you know, which I think then allows for you to have more options as a writer, because you don't feel pigeonholed into a certain genre. So I think that's a really good thing. I think I'm at a stage where I need to release more music. I'm currently working on my debut album, which I plan to have out before the end of 2020. It's been a journey and it's been a bit of a up and down road, and I've written a lot of the songs in the last couple of years. So that's probably my first step as an artist. And again, creating a plan that then means that I know who I'm contacting and who I can, you know, build up more of a marketing plan, stuff like that. Radio stations, bloggers, people who review tracks, and a big part of it is radio. A big part of it is getting your songs out there and played on radio and played, you know, in ads and able to get to people, you know. I've always wanted to have my music played in TV, in advertisement, in movies or shows, because I love the idea of putting visual to my music, and that's also why I do a lot of visual stuff. And I think that that's a really good way for people to find my music and to enjoy it, and then hopefully find the rest of my catalogue, which is how I found a lot of music, through hearing one song and then being like, oh, that's awesome, and then going back and listening and realizing, oh, that one song that became a massive hit, this, like, we don't know that this artist has a catalogue of albums. Like, this is one song off, you know, his 5th album, but he's got a catalogue of 4 other albums that I'm just ready to get into. That's a really exciting thing for me when I find new music. So I hope that that's something I can create for other people, and they can find me and dive into my catalogue and get to know me. The biggest challenge that I've faced with marketing my music is that I don't have a specific genre that I assign myself to. So it's hard contacting, you know, radio stations, or looking at, because most radio broadcasters or presenters do a show. The show has a theme, and they find artists that align with that theme. I don't always align with their sound, or I don't always align with the vibe of the show, so that can be a bit difficult. People are a little bit apprehensive, and sometimes people just don't reply, which, as a sensitive artist, that can feel really hard. That can feel like, why is no one just replying to an email? Like, is it that hard just to be like, no? I'd rather people just say no thanks in an email than just ignore me. So that becomes really difficult. I think also finding the online market, finding, you know, my last single, I went through Happy Mag, and they did, I think it was a 1-week run of it, because it was just a single, and I wanted to get stuff out. And this was all before everyone went into isolation, like literally a week before. So it was positive in the sense that everyone was at home, so they were able to, you know, they were online already reading whatever was being scrolled on Facebook and stuff. So that's a really positive. But yeah, at times not knowing who my target audience is, like, and when I've gone to a lot of seminars, people have been like, you need to know what your genre is, you need to know what your target audience is. And it's like, okay, that's great. Like, of course, that's business, and I totally get that. But when you're just trying to create stuff from your heart that, you know, it's not always gonna reach the people that you think it's gonna reach. And sometimes it's not meant to reach those people, and it's meant to reach a different demographic. You know, you can't always put so much planning and emphasis. And I think that's what becomes really hard, that whole business side of, you know, how do you market it? Where do you market it? Who do you go through? What's your budget? You know, it's a big one. If you're someone like me, I don't necessarily ever have a big budget to work with, because, you know, I'm a music teacher on the side. That's what I say. When people, you know, when you fill out documents and you say, what's your occupation? My occupation is a music teacher. That's not how I see the rest of my life. That's not, you know, what I intend to do with the rest of my life, but it's something that pays my bills. You know, I'm able to buy food and groceries and stuff like that, and have a budget that I can then say, oh, cool, so I can do this little press release and it's going to cost me $200 for a week. Great, I can afford that. You know, even putting into an album, you know, looking at ways that I'm going to market that. How do I want to market that? What's a smart, cost-effective way to release your music, release big bodies of work, and you get the maximum amount of people seeing your work and listening to what you're making? You know, it's hard. It's sometimes it feels like, you know, you're in this big ocean and you want to throw a pebble in and you want to hit all the fish, but you throw a pebble in and you miss them all. Do you know what I mean? Like, it becomes a bit like, where do I even start? Who do I start with? How do I start? Do I just start? Which then, you know, you can kind of go down a bit of a rabbit hole with it. But I think having a plan and being persistent through it is really important. I really love all of the social platforms that I'm using at the moment. I'm noticing that, for me anyway, Instagram is the world I like to promote in and be in. Facebook, not so much. I feel like Facebook is that ocean that like you throw a pebble in and you hit no one, as opposed to hitting, wanting to hit as many fish as you. That's not a great analogy, but it sort of describes what I mean. Where Instagram is a little bit more, there's more chances of people seeing your photos or your videos. It's more, you're able to tag a lot more people in it, in the sense of like hashtags, and people are able to search that, and it's a bit more of like, I don't know, it just feels better. I haven't gotten into the world of TikTok. I don't think I will, unless someone wants to put a dance to one of my songs, then I probably won't even bother. So as much as like my younger audience or my younger friends are like, you should have TikTok, or even kids that I teach, why don't you have TikTok? Because I'm not gonna make a dance move to a song, or I'm not gonna that's not my thing. So yeah, I find Instagram is a really good way of like making contacts, making friends in the industry. Like I've made some really fun friends in the industry through places like Instagram, and it can feel a bit more communal, which I like. And you can sort of, like in the stories, you can sort of put whatever, 24 hours later it's gone. So that's a bonus, and it has that vibe as well of like a gig, where you see a gig and then that's it, you're not going to see a gig again, right? Where in this case of Instagram, it's up for 24 hours and then it's gone, then you're never going to see it again. And I like that. I like that you get a glimpse of it and then that's it, it's done. So yeah, and I think that works pretty well for what I do and for what I create. The tall poppy syndrome effect of Australian culture is what I would change, and people's ways of perceiving Australian artists. When I first started my journey as a gigging musician, I was really blessed to be part of the Push Mentor-Mentee program. So I was 18 and they teamed me up with a mentor, someone who'd been in the industry for a lot longer than me, and someone who had traveled around the world, who'd released music, who her living was playing music and being a musician. Her name is Neda, and she's just phenomenally talented. She opened my eyes up to so much creativity, because she's just, the human rainbow. She's full of color, and I really, really look up to her. So when I was starting off, I was given the opportunity to play Apollo Bay Music Festival, and she was my mentor. And she came to me and she said, you can't go to a festival and not have something to give. Like, you can't go there and not have an EP or a single or something where people can see you and be like, wow, they're awesome, or she's awesome, I want to buy her stuff. She goes, that's like the prime time to start getting stuff out. So within like 2 weeks, I smashed together this EP, my first ever EP. I drew the cover. I had a friend at uni at the time offer to do to digitalize the artwork so that I could then have it printed. So he was awesome. Shout out to Tim. Then I found an engineer who was willing to record it for cheap, because it was at his home and he was a student at the uni that I was at. All my friends played in the band, and we literally just smashed out this really, really rough, quirky, reggae-ish, full of like naive thoughts about life and love, but it was really fun. And I got it printed, and it was like the first thing, and I did it within 2 weeks. Like, I really took Neda's advice and I was like, yeah, you're right, I gotta get this done. So to be able to release your own music was a buzz. It's like, I don't need anybody to tell me what to do. Although, Neda was like, you need to do that. And I was like, yeah, you're right, I need to do that. But I pick what it looks like, and I pick what it sounds like, and I pick how it's, pressed, or even if it is pressed. Right now we're not really seeing, that it's all digital, so we go digitally and we don't necessarily see a product in our hand. But to have that freedom is really fun and exciting, and it's a blessing as artists, because I know as an artist I don't like to be boxed in, and I don't like to be told what to do. You can ask my partner. I don't like to be molded. I am who I am, and I've grown through all these processes as a person, so I need to be able to express that. Otherwise I'm not being true to myself, and I'm not giving myself the best opportunity to live a life that is honest for me. Therefore then, radiating to other people, and doing what I can to make other people feel good. The message I would send out to fellow Australians is to be kind to your fellow musical Australians, to be kinder to them at whatever level they're at, to be more open, to be more willing to explore music. Don't worry too much about what is cool. Worry more about what affects your heart. I think what makes you emotional, what gives you a reaction, even if it's negative. There's plenty of music that I've listened to that gives me a really jarring feeling. And instead of, disregarding it, I sort of sit back and go, why did that make me feel like that? Question a bit more, and be open and be kind to anyone and everyone in the arts. Because, I think if Australia didn't have the amazing artists and the amazing musicians and creatives that we have, I think that it would be a pretty dull place. And I think that we add to a lot more than we're given credit for. So, yeah, be more open.
Want more? Check out the Behind the Music with LED podcast, available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.